Hello and welcome to WOW, the positive podcast, showing kids that there's a lot more to the world news than bad news. I'm Alastair. As a journalist, I spent years bringing people bad news from all over the world. Now I realise that if we're really going to fix our problems, we need a bit of hope and inspiration too. And so I get together with my podcast buddy Clarisse to talk about what people are already doing to come up with solutions. So, if you want to cheer up a friend, do send them a link to this, WOW News, the positive podcast, and check out our website, wow-news.eu. Hello, Clarisse. How are you doing?
Hi, Alastair. I'm fine, thanks. Of course, I'm still staying at home because of the coronavirus. I've got plenty of time to think.
Ah, yes. Thinking is a good way to use our time at home, isn't it? I've been listening to someone who says we should use this quiet time, confined indoors, to think big thoughts about our planet as a whole. To think about how we can all make a difference to looking after it better when all this is over.
You know, sometimes it's hard to remember that there is a whole world out there beyond our own home.
Indeed, Clarisse. But it's still out there, and this week we'll be celebrating Earth Day. That's normally when people meet up and share ideas about looking after our planet. But of course this year, Earth Day will be mostly online, I guess. One thing some of you might be able to do is to watch a new film on TV. It's about the famous scientist Jane Goodall.
Jane Goodall, the lady who lived with the chimpanzees.
That's the one. So, Jane Goodall has been telling us amazing new things about nature for a very long time. 60 years ago, that's a long time, she went to live with chimpanzees in Africa. And what she discovered about them helped change the way that we think of ourselves and about animals.
Really? So, what did you find out?
Well, she realized that chimpanzees, who are of course our very, very close cousins, Clarisse, we share 99% of the same genes, that the chimpanzees didn't just look a little bit like small, hairy people. You know, they have fingers and thumbs, they have eyes in front and ears on the side of their head, no tails. On top of all that, they also seem to act like us and even have feelings like us.
Feelings?
Yeah. By living alongside a tribe of chimpanzees, Jane was able to recognize them as individuals with different tempers. She gave them names. And she saw that they did things like play jokes on each other. They got angry, frightened, sad, much like us. Then one day, really important day, she saw one of the chimps, who she called David Greybeard. Can you think why?
He had a grey beard?
Got it in one, Clarisse. Anyway, David Greybeard, there he is. He broke off a twig from a tree. And Jane watched him strip all the leaves off this twig. And then he started to poke the twig into the ground. And she saw that what he was doing was poking a termite mound. Now, what he was doing was effectively, it was like fishing. He was using it like a fishing rod to make the termites, those little insects, come out where he could grab them and eat them.
And why was this so important, Alice?
Well, it's important because until that day, humans all basically thought that we were totally unique in this particular way, that we were the only creatures on Earth to make and use tools. We thought that nobody else was as smart as our ancestors had been when they started shaping bits of stone and wood to make tools, let alone, of course, build all our machines and do all the other things we do today. So people thought those tools, that was one of the things that made us completely different. Now, suddenly this young woman, Jane was only 26 when this happened, she turned up and showed us that actually we weren't that unique. Chimps made tools too. Not very complicated ones, but still, the point is that ever since the day that Jane watched David Greybeard, we've understood that we humans are not totally separate. We're part of the animal kingdom, and we share more in common with other animals than we thought.
Okay, but does that make a real difference to what we do in our daily life?
Well, Clarisse, Jane Goodall says that this idea should help us realise that we need to be kinder and show more care towards animals, and to planet Earth in general. In particular, right now, she's making a link that some other scientists have also between the coronavirus that's messing up all our lives and the way that we treat animals and the rest of the natural world.
Really? What's the connection?
Well, the link starts with the fact that coronavirus comes from an animal, okay? It's causing a big problem for humans because we've never had to deal with it before until last year when this bug jumped from an animal into a person. Now, scientists reckon that lots of diseases in humans have started that way for thousands of years. But it seems to be happening more often. And Jane and quite a lot of other scientists, they say that the way that some people capture animals, treat them badly, chop down the forest where they live, eat animals, that all of those are reasons for there being more of these kind of new diseases.
So, what should we do about that?
Well, that's a good question. Jane Goodall says that the most important thing is for us all to realise that each and every one of us makes a difference. And that we should all have a think about the impact we have on the planet every day. And we should do what we can, however small, to try and make a difference for the better.
But there are such huge problems, like climate change and pollution. We need to make really big changes, don't we?
Well, one of the things that I really like about what Jane says is that, yes, the world does need big changes. But if we all think about the big stuff, it's quite hard to actually see what little me can do. We might feel, heavens, it's all just too much and it's easy to give up. Jane says that the really important thing is to think, what can I do right here, right now? And if we all do that, then, hey, the big picture kind of takes care of itself.
Wow, I like that way of thinking. I think my way of helping the planet at the moment is that I try to do some gardening on my balcony. Springtime! I've planted bee-friendly flowers, flowers that are good for bees, and aromatic plants like mint, coriander. And it's nice to see and smell, good for our health, and a perfect spot for birds to eat. What about you, Alastair?
Well, of course, like everybody else, I haven't been travelling about on trains and buses much lately, and I can also already see how much cleaner the air in the city has become. In general, though, I guess I walk and I go by bike a lot more than I used to. And lately, I have made a change in the bathroom that maybe some of our listeners' dads have done too.
Really? What on earth is that, Alastair?
Well, every morning when I shave, and I can tell you that if I didn't do that, then people would very quickly be calling me Alastair Greybeard. I used to use a razor made of plastic, and when it was blunt, about every week or so, I would throw it away. So over the years, I've added quite a lot of little bits of plastic to rubbish dumps. This year, well, I'm doing my bit to help. I stopped using throwaway plastic razors. Instead, I have a steel razor made in France that will last a lifetime. But still, there's still a lot more that I can do.
And so, what's next, Alastair?
Well, that's what I'm going to use some of this quiet time staying indoors to think about. None of us be perfect immediately. But what Jane is saying is that we just need to think small, start somewhere, do our bit. And if we do that, then the big stuff will be okay.
Excellent. I see that on the WOW website, we've also got great ideas for people to do at home, at least if they have a garden.
Yes, Clarisse, we thought it would be good to show people an idea that comes from Jane Goodall's organisation for children. It's called Roots and Shoots, and they have probably a local website and organisers near where most of our listeners live. Anyway, they suggested that we make a bug hotel.
That's a kind of home for insects, right? Isn't that a bit... Ugh.
Yeah, well, it's easy to think that we like nature when we think of, cuddly animals. But those creepy crawlies and even microscopic bugs, they're really important parts of our world too. Everything depends on everything else. Look, for example, at the story that we had in WOW last week about the bug people found that can eat plastic rubbish. Now that's really useful. So yes, Clarisse, we should help out our insect friends too. The instructions are on the website, wow-news.eu. Although I should say that you will need a few more tools than our chimpanzee friend David Greybeard to make the bug hotel.
Okay, Alastair, I'm going to take a look. But I'm not sure it will work in my flat here.
That's true, Clarisse. But I'm sure you'll find some other way to help. Take care, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye, Alastair.
Well, that wraps up our positive podcast for this week. Have fun having a think about what the little things are that we can do to help nature. Look out for things to do on Earth Day, and take a look at ideas from Roots and Shoots. I hope you've enjoyed finding out about Jane Goodall, David Greybeard, and all the other animals. We'll be back next week with more from WOW, the positive podcast. Until then, stay home, stay safe, and keep positive.